maybe don't even know each other's names still at this point because it's still trying to get started.
No, great point. I think that's college football in 2025. The area that on offense we kind of set up this way. We want to make sure like skill guys who work out with each other. Okay, we use the first half of the summer to really dial that in, to get familiar with each other and become close. Now that doesn't necessarily mean guys always have to be best friends, but have a lot of respect for each other. And then later, towards the end of the summer, we started to try and do things to integrate the offensive line with the skill from an offensive standpoint to get closer to where it's not just a collection of people, it's a team. And I think training camp's going to be really good to just get that final push of merging the offense and defense and special teams.
How much do you feel like you did so much? I know you guys talked about putting so much in spring,
right?
Just throwing the playbook at them and just being everywhere. How much does fall camp really come into refining that now that most of these guys had that kind of lesson through spring? How much is this fall camp going to be about refining it and actually getting into the running the offense and stuff?
Yeah, like how you just said that's what it needs to be now is refinement. And we got a lot of the fundamentals and a lot of the schemes in the spring. And we dialed back in the summer, and the things that we met on and those guys got to do on their own were more specific, and then we get into training camp. Yeah, there's going to be an element where you start back over with some of the base fundamentals, but what we want to get to is put a really nice package together for our first game against Jack State, and then continue that each week as the season goes. That's super important as well, that the guys know exactly what they're doing, and it's not just a free-for-all. But that's exactly right. Refinement is a good word.
What about with the quarterback position? You're obviously going to have a battle or competition at least going into the fall. How important is it for you guys to maybe find out who's going to be that guy, maybe who's going to start that Jackson State game, and then maybe identifying that maybe as early as possible?
Yeah, really, I'll answer that question in two parts. There are certain non-negotiables that the quarterback has to play with, which we're still exploring those things in relationship to how these guys get evaluated from training camp. And it's still an open competition between the three guys. With that being said, as you get closer and closer to game day and that decision has been made, then again, your word, refine things to fit and curtail the offense to best highlight that player. I think that's really important as well. Not just have a system that makes sense to the coaches, but have a system that makes sense to the guy that's playing quarterback and the rest of the guys.
You guys, obviously you do tight ends as well. You have a few guys that have come in during the spring. You have a couple of guys who are basketball players. Debo coming in.
Yeah.
What was the attraction to bring those two guys in that were from the basketball?
Are you talking about Max and Debo?
Yeah.
Both guys, the most important thing is we do our research on our background on who they are as human beings, and both those guys are competitive people. They work hard, and they're going to fit really well in the culture that Coach Frost is building. But in relationship to skill set, anytime you can get an athlete, talking about Debo, that might be a little bit different than a lot of. Listen, there's a lot of guys that think that they got these hoop dreams, and man, just because you're 6'5" plus, there's not the same amount of opportunity that you can be in a 6'5" plus athlete on the football field. So he has those skill sets, very athletic kid, and really don't know what we got with him because he missed spring ball. So we're going to find those things out quickly. And then in regards to Max Drag, just really excited to have another guy that is going to embody what it means to be a Knight in Coach Frost culture.
Day one tomorrow. Do you have to have a sense of urgency on the offensive side, or can you be patient and methodical with these guys since you don't know who the quarterback is to get ready for the game?
Well, that's a good question. That's one thing that we talk a lot about as a staff. We want to have a sense of urgency. And we're talking about every day, too. It's not just sense of urgency to play the first game. A lot of people talk about goals and all those things as they start day one. This really isn't any changeover from what we were doing last week in relationship to how we work. And a thing that Coach Frost says a lot is rise and conquer. And to me, when you say rise and conquer, that means that every single day you have a sense of urgency. And when your feet hit the ground in the morning, we got a sense of urgency. So we need to apply that as a coaching staff as well. When we go out on the football field, we practice differently than a lot of teams. There's a certain pace that we have to be able to execute every day from drill to drill. But that also means in relationship to how we install and those kind of things that we need to have a sense of urgency. Now, patience is also a virtue, right? It's important that we take the time that we need to figure certain things out. Competition for position battles, those types of things, they all come with some level of patience, but at the end of the day, yeah, we have a sense of urgency.
When it comes to picking a quarterback, how much of a roller coaster is it, especially when you have three guys? Because, as you know, a successful play isn't necessarily a bad play or a wrong
Sure.
play, you know?
Yeah, thing that Coach Frost and I talk a lot about is winning quarterback plays, plays that help you win. And you try to avoid the roller coaster by clearly defining, okay, what are the expectations for this situation? Now, listen, in the spring, as we mentioned earlier, there was a lot of just getting schemes in, right? We were trying to make sure that we were teaching the guys the offense. And now here we are going into fall camp, it's in July. There's a lot more situations that we need to highlight and cover. We spent a lot of time this summer in our meetings talking about these situations. Now we get to go practice and execute them. So what should eliminate some of the roller coaster is clearly defining what the expectation is and then coaching these guys up. And we're talking about quarterbacks right now, putting them in a situation where they have to make a decision, and then was that a winning decision from the quarterback? And that's one of the most important things is relationship to quarterback play is, are they making good decisions, winning decisions? Sometimes that might mean throwing the ball away on third down. Sometimes that might mean, it's it. Sometimes it's taking a sack where, an interception would have been a bad decision. We're in a 2-minute situation. Are we getting the ball out of bounds? Are we stopping the clock? So hopefully it's not a roller coaster, but in the sense that there's going to be some ups and downs, sure.
Offense is about being in rhythm and all the pieces kind of working together. How do you kind of build that with so many new faces and your coaching staff, in addition to so many new faces and players kind of learning how to interact with each other?
Yeah, trying to create as much continuity as possible. A lot of that sometimes has to do with your calendar, your schedule, being the same person every day. I think those are important things. We do that as a staff, and then holding people accountable to that. You shouldn't be any different than you are day one than you are day 20.